Why did Jesus say to hate your father and mother? Of all the things Jesus ever said, few sound more disturbing than this. He taught people to love their enemies. He forgave those who crucified him. He told his followers to bless those who cursed them. And yet, one day Jesus looked at a crowd and said something so shocking that many people still struggle with it 2,000 years later. If anyone comes to me and does not hate his father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. Think about that for a moment. Not ignore, not disagree with, not love less, hate. The word lands like a hammer, because if there is one thing almost everyone knows about Jesus, it is that he taught love. So why would the man who preached love suddenly speak the language of hatred? Was Jesus attacking the family? Was he rejecting one of the 10 Commandments? Or are we missing something hidden beneath the surface? The answer begins with the crowd standing in front of him that day. To us, family is important. To them, family was everything. Your family determined who you were. Your family determined where you lived. Your family determined your future. Walking away from your family could mean losing your home, your income, your inheritance, your reputation, and sometimes even your safety. Following Jesus was never a small decision. It could cost a person everything. And Jesus wanted people to understand that before they chose to follow him, because crowds are easy to gather, disciples are harder to find. Many people followed Jesus because of his miracles. Some followed him because they wanted bread. Others followed because they hoped he would overthrow Rome. But Jesus was not looking for admirers. He was looking for people willing to surrender everything. That is why he spoke these words. He was forcing every listener to ask a terrifying question. If the day comes when your family tells you to abandon Christ, what will you do? If your closest relationships pull you in one direction and God calls you in another, who will you follow? Most people never expect faith to become that costly. But throughout history, countless believers have faced exactly that choice. Some were rejected by their parents. Some lost husbands or wives. Some lost friends. Some lost their place in society. Some lost their lives. Yet they continued to follow Christ. Not because it was easy, but because they believed he was worth more than anything they left behind. And that is the uncomfortable truth hidden inside this passage. Jesus was never asking whether family matters. He was asking whether anything matters more than God. Because whatever takes first place in your heart eventually becomes your master. And Jesus refuses to stand second, not behind money, not behind success, not behind comfort, not even behind the people we love most. The crowd heard a shocking command, but beneath the shock was a challenge. Who comes first? Because the answer to that question changes everything. And perhaps that is why these words still make people uncomfortable today. Not because they are difficult to understand, but because they force us to examine what truly sits at the center of our lives. Now here is the deeper lesson. Jesus was not commanding hatred in the way we understand hatred today. He was using strong language to reveal a greater truth. When love for God and attachment to anything else collide, God must come first. That is the heart of Christian discipleship. The Catholic Church has always taught that honoring father and mother remains a sacred commandment. The family is not an obstacle to holiness. It is often the very place where holiness begins. But even the most beautiful human relationship cannot replace God. Parents are gifts from God. Spouses are gifts from God. Children are gifts from God. Yet gifts must never take the place of the giver. Many people today do not struggle because they hate God. They struggle because other things quietly take his place. Career becomes first. Money becomes first. Comfort becomes first. Public approval becomes first. Even family can become first. And whenever something takes the throne of our hearts, it slowly becomes our idol. In my view, this is why Jesus spoke so forcefully. He wanted to break through human excuses. He wanted people to stop pretending that following him costs nothing. Real faith is not merely believing when it is convenient. Real faith is choosing Christ when obedience becomes difficult. The practical lesson for us is simple. Every person should ask, what am I unwilling to surrender if God asks for it? What am I protecting more carefully than my relationship with God? What occupies my thoughts more than prayer? What do I fear losing the most? The answer often reveals what sits at the center of our hearts. A faithful Christian does not love family less. A faithful Christian loves family better. Because when God comes first, love becomes purer. Parents are loved with gratitude. Spouses are loved with sacrifice. Children are loved with wisdom. Friends are loved with sincerity. Everything finds its proper place. The message of Jesus is challenging, but it is also liberating. When God becomes first, everything else falls into order. When God becomes second, sooner or later, everything else falls into disorder. And perhaps that is the lesson Christ wanted the crowd to remember. The greatest tragedy is not losing possessions. It is not losing status. It is not even losing the approval of others. The greatest tragedy is gaining the whole world while allowing anything to take the place that belongs to God alone.